Hey, what's going on, guys? The Leafs Convo back in business for Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario. OakRidgeFord.com. It is Thursday, January 28, 2021. I'm Norm, along with Mike. The Leafs 6-2, off to a good start, a red-hot start. Well, that's up for debate, and that's what the Leafs Convo is all about. There's good news in relation to Mitch Marner, just shooting lights out, lots of points. Wayne Simmonds looks fantastic, but there's also concerning news in yet another injury. Jack Campbell looked great in his last outing, and that is essentially his last outing for quite some time. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Norm. Things are looking up in Leafland. 6-2 in the difficult Canadian division or North Division. I refuse to acknowledge the advertising of the North Division,
Scotia North.
Yeah, the Scotia North. It's funny because somebody was saying the Central Division has been racked with COVID, so maybe they should rename the Pfizer COVID division.
They are trying to make money any way they can.
Yeah, but that being said, I mean, Montreal has gotten off to a great start, and Toronto now 6-2. They played a few more games, and I think that there are reasons for being encouraged, but there are also a few danger signs over the last couple games, and the injuries are piling up.
Jack Campbell picking up the win in Calgary the other night. An unfortunate end for him. He's a really solid number two for Freddie Anderson. Not just that he's got lots of talent, but I like his presence there. There's a confidence, and I think the players feed off his confidence and are confident in him. Yet, here's the conundrum for Sheldon Keefe and Kyle Dubas. A guy who looks really good gets injured. Now you bring somebody back who is a good player, but you can't say exudes the same kind of ability and confidence.
Yeah, I mean, Campbell played well in the two starts that he had, and I think it's a loss for the Leafs. Now, the diagnosis was not specific. It said weeks, not days. That could mean a couple weeks, but probably we're talking about a month because they didn't specify the injury, but he was hurt going down on a save, likely either knee or groin. And for a goaltender, that's everything. So, they're going to be very careful because I think deep into this season, they're going to want Campbell to play regularly and spell Frederik Andersen. Luckily for the Leafs, as Sheldon Keefe pointed out, their schedule is favorable in terms of no back-to-backs between now and the middle of February. So for the majority of that time, they're probably going to run with Frederik Andersen on almost every night, unless they play Ottawa. Then maybe they throw Hutchinson in. But yeah, I mean, Campbell is a good teammate. He's well liked in the room. He's got that sort of a Boolean personality that, and he's playing well. So that all those things put together are positives. So we know what happened with Hutchinson last year. We know that he went to Colorado and played well, especially in the playoff situation where everybody got hurt. So all they're going to really be asking him is maybe one or two starts over the next 3 or 4 weeks. And if that's the case, he should be able to do that. But I think the big point here is they wanted to avoid loading on the minutes to Frederik Andersen. And now with the waiver claim of Aaron Dell and the injury to Jack Campbell, that's exactly what they're going to have to do now.
Yeah, what the plan isn't necessarily what the plan turns out to be. This is the Leafs Convo for Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario, oakridgeford.com. Community is open 24/7. YouTube.com/the Leafs Convo. You can get at us there with your takes, your comments, your concerns. We have polls that you can contribute to. I have a new F-150 coming for the James family. I'm going to put up some pictures of that, a 2021 Lariat. It's fantastic. If you're interested in those kinds of things, you can also reach out to me. The Leafs have lost Joe Thornton. Jack Campbell's going down for a considerable period of time. Austin Matthews was out for a game. Is there one player this team really can't function without, especially for an extended period of time? And I'm thinking number 16, to be honest.
I think that's, I think you're right in that respect, but I honestly think that, especially with the situation that's happened over the last few games, it's Frederik Andersen. If Frederik Andersen goes down, and their goaltending situation right now would be Michael Hutchinson and Joseph Woll, in a tight division where a couple points could make the difference between making or missing the playoffs, that would be absolutely disastrous.
Yeah,
So
I should have qualified the question with which skater could this team not be without for a period longer than a few games. Mitch Marner is obviously playing to his value in the belief system of many. He'll never play up to his what he's making monetarily, according to a bunch of other people, and that argument can continue on and on. What's for sure is that he will continue to produce. I wonder, and with this hot start that he's involved in, I mean, his shooting percentage is over 30%. We talked pre-podcast about what we should get into, and it's Marner as a shooter now. I still don't think his goals versus assists at the end of the season will balance out. But for the time being, hey, if he can put the biscuit in the basket and maybe alleviate some of the scoring pressure from guys like Nylander and Austin Matthews, I'm fine with that, and I'm sure everybody else is too, especially the coaching staff.
Well, I mean, what have we said on the combo over the last couple of years in terms of one of the few derogatories when it came to Mitch Marner is that he's a pass-first guy. And, defenses on the power play and 5-on-5 reflect that sometimes. They'll sit back a little bit and allow him, and defense the pass rather than defense him potentially shooting. Well, look at that goal that he scored for the game winner against Calgary. It was a one-timer on a feed by Austin Matthews, and he scored a few of those this year. If his shot is, people have said that he has a below-average shot. If he has an average shot or an above-average shot, and all of a sudden he's sniping, that just gives the Leafs offense a complete diversification that they haven't had. So that combo of Matthews and Marner, most of the time Marner is the playmaker and Matthews is the trigger man. But in the interim, it's very possible that if the things are reversed, I mean, that's going to really be a dangerous thing for the Leafs and for their opposition.
Nylander, Tavares, Matthews, and Marner, 4-3-2-1, going up the scoring rankings for the Maple Leafs. Mitch Marner has scored a couple of empty net goals, so we can use that against them, right, Mike? We're not taking into consideration that number 16's on the ice when it's at its most crucial. So
yeah, he's filling Zach Hyman's quota because everybody criticized Zach Hyman for scoring empty net goals.
Look, when you're a guy who's put up 90-plus points and you're almost a point a game for your career, and that's what you're meant to do, and you play shorthanded and you're on the ice for almost 25 minutes a game, and you're out there in a position to ice it with a to use probably the wrong term, to ice it with an empty net game winner. Who gives a shit? You're going to score it. So, we can discuss the merits of his contributions and whether it ultimately lives up to what he's being paid over and over again. What will be consistent, Mike, is his production. Night in and night out. And it's nice to see him doing well. It's nice to see the team doing well. It's nice to see guys like Wayne Simmonds contribute too. I have a feeling, Mike, that this will be a bit of a renaissance for Mr. Simmonds. You could look at him as a reclamation project, a preseason. As time goes on, as long as he doesn't get injured too, he's going to fit in and he's going to do his job really well. A job that the Leafs didn't seem to have anybody to do. A job that went unfulfilled for the Leafs for quite some time. Simmonds is in that role right now, and it's exciting to watch.
Well, I mean, thus far he's come as advertised. We heard what was said when he was signed. Well, he'd been off for a while because he had played for New Jersey and Buffalo, and they didn't qualify for the playoffs. And he spent a lot of time sort of healing up with lingering injuries that he had over the last couple of years. Yeah. So, it was billed as, okay, here is, like you said, a Renaissance project who could get back closer to the form that he had when he scored 30 goals in Philadelphia. I mean, I don't think he's going to score the equivalent of 30 goals with the Leafs because he's not going to get the ice time, but he's playing on the first power play and doing the role that he has been was born to do, which was be a professional disturber in front of the net. And he scored a couple goals. If he scores 10, 12
Yep.
goals at a $1.5 million, it's a grand slam home run for Kyle Dubas. And you see, the reaction that he gets from his teammates when he scores goals. I mean, they like him. They like the grit that he provides. And this type of player is somebody that they have needed for years. So it was right now, it's a success story.
Yeah, I like this lineup. I like the layers of this lineup. I like the stars. I like the pluggers. I like the kids coming up. Instead of constantly fawning, though, Mike, if we're looking 8 games in and scanning the entire group, is there a player or two that you had hoped to see more of at this point and more from?
Well, and I think we still will, but with no training camp and no preseason games and the billing that we had heard over the summer and the fall, I would like to have seen a little bit more of Alexander Barabanov and from Mikko Lehtinen. I understand why Sheldon Keefe is, hesitant. Now, like Barabanov has basically played 5-6 minutes a night. He saw a little more ice time in his last game against Calgary, but then they basically subbed out the entire fourth line and brought in Travis Boyd and Joey Anderson, who I thought played pretty well. Lehtinen started ahead of Travis Dermott and played 13 minutes. But when the game was on the line in the third period, Sheldon Keefe went to 5 defensemen and played Lehtinen 1 shift. And after the game, he basically said, he doesn't know the NHL yet. I don't have a level of trust with him. I'm not going to, I'm paraphrasing. I'm not going to risk 2 points until I know what kind of player this is. So, there's still a level of trust to be developed there. But I do think that, Lehtinen, they're going to give him an opportunity, second power play and bottom pairing minutes. And I'd like to see where that goes.
So the Oilers tonight, is this the type of game that is perfect for a Kerplunk from the blue and white?
Well, you could say that because, that was the type of effort that they had in that first game against Edmonton, which I don't think is going to go to the Hockey Hall of Fame for posterity. It was a dreadful effort for both teams. It was a defensive, when you have Draisaitl and McDavid and Marner and Matthews and all the offensive talent on both sides, you don't want to see a 3-1, just a dreadful defensive effort. You want to see high flying offense. And these teams will be playing 4 times in 11 days after the next 2 on Thursday and Saturday. So I'm sure a little bit of animosity will have built up, not as much as next time they play Matthew Tkachuk and the Calgary Flames. But still, I think that, familiarity breeds contempt. So I think you may see a bit of an edge tonight. But I also think you're probably going to see, McDavid play a little better, and hopefully from the Leafs side, the co-leader in the NHL for scoring, Mitch Marner, with McDavid will balance that out.
Yeah, if the game opens up, everyone's going to get their points, and at game 9 of a shortened season, I'm open for that. I'm excited for that. If these guys want to put up 13 goals tonight with the Leafs winning in overtime, getting the 2 by hook or by crook, and the stats getting padded throughout the lineup, I'm up for a game like that. Do I want to see a 2-1 win for the Leafs as well? Sure, but like I said, we're into game 9, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of criticism from this podcast and many others towards the Leafs for shitty play. If tonight's one of those nights, but they can get a victory out of it, and guys like Willie and Mitch and Wayne and the whole crew can pad their stats, bring it on, my friend. Mitch Marner in a shooting percentage, 11.4 for his career. He's been double digits throughout his 5 years in the league. In 2017, 2018, he was 11.34 with 22 goals and 194 shots, dipped to 10.4 in the shortened season last year. So if he can get that into the 12, 13% range, maybe even a bit higher when all is said and done, That will be a nice bit of progression for Mitch. I mean, the 31.3% shooting percentage right now, Mike. I mean, that's just that could be a record. But I'm sure it's going to wane a little bit between now and the end of the season. One thing that won't, and again, it's the third time I'm bringing this up. Mitch Marner will never stop producing, and it will never be enough for some. But if it results in a championship for this team, and he's integral to that, I don't give a shit. We can have that debate for the rest of our lives. All we want to do is get a crew that's ready to rock and win a effing cup. A last word to you.
Yeah, well, I mean, tonight I think the key will be if they can limit McDavid. We know that Tippett. I mean, Tippett's got his own problems. They have no backup goaltender, and it sounds like Mikko Koskinen is going to start every game until Mike Smith comes back. And Mikko Koskinen is a below-average NHL starter, so the Leafs, I think, are going to have to press the offensive attack against a weak Edmonton team who, when they were leading 3-1 in the third period, gave up 3 goals in 3 minutes to Winnipeg. Mm-hmm. So I have a feeling it's going to be more of a wide open affair because that's the only kind of game that Edmonton can win.
I was going to make a comment about the Oilers, but geez, we'd be here for 2-3 hours, and we have things to do today. Mike, enjoy the game. We'll talk soon.